Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Well, hey, Nick Collier again, and today we got this little short project, as I always say. I thought, well, first we're going to take you into the studio and have a look at the paintings that's going up in this art show that I've got coming up, in another week or so. And I don't know if you noticed, but the paintings don't have frames. So I wanted to make some frames. And you know, a frame is probably about 75 bucks for a decent one. And I thought, well, why don't I just make my own? I've got the wood. I got this great cedar. And so I had to kick in, I think it was 75 bucks for this contour router, and we're going to bring you in a little closer so you can see it. The contour router, which gives the contour of, whoops, the other way, the contour on the piece of wood. Perfect, right? But one problem. The router doesn't have a bearing on top of it, and so the router jumps around and chatters, and I don't know if you can see this, but if you look down there, you can see all this chatter stuff going on. It was good for a while, and then bang, bang, bang. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a bearing on the end of this thing. We've got a center hole, so that's kind of gives us a good indicator. And then so let's just take it over to the lathe, and we'll see what we can do with this. Well, since this bit travels at probably 20,000 RPM, I think it's important to get it really well centered before we even mess with it. And I know the shaft is centered with the bit itself, and I'm almost positive that the center hole is centered with the shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the shaft with an indicator, and we're just going to indicate it. By the way, we're putting it on the 4-jaw because, of course, it's more accurate. And there's our high spot right there. So we come back a bit. And there's our high spot. And we can come back a bit on this one. Same high spot. Getting closer. Okay, there. Now that we're on one of the jaws, the high point is on one of the jaws, we can start to really make some adjustments. Okay, so there's high. And we're down to 20 or 30 at this point. Okay, now we're down to 20. Down to about 5. Loosen it just a little bit. Okay, we're down to about 3 or 4. Now let's just check all of our jaws and make sure they're good and snug. There we go. What have we got? 2. So let's just give ourselves just a little bit more. still 2. That might have jumped it the opposite. Okay. That jumped back the opposite. Okay, we're going to just make it more interesting, that's all. Let's see if we can just snug it down a bit. We're at about 1.5. There we go. Yeah, maybe 1. Okay, I'm seeing 1/2. I'm seeing 1. At 20,000 RPM, that's a lot. Okay, now there's 1/2. Let's see how that spins. Well, it turns out, and I tested it, I've got the shaft centered. The cutting heads are not centered, which is very interesting. You know, I thought this was an accurate tool. It's off by about 0.03 by the time you get out to here, which is a substantial amount, which means that one cutting head is going to cut and the other one's not going to touch anything. And then I crank up the tip and I'll be damned, it's off. So we're going to come in and single point this and get this thing to square up on us for us. Yeah, look at that. I'd say 3 or 5 off. Okay, we got her squared up. Now the question is how to square up that very center hole, which is there, and who knows how deep it is. Let's have a look and see. It's not super deep, but it's a good 1/4 inch, which means that we've got to get something in there that's a 1/4 inch that's going to be able to cut. Yep, yippee. Otherwise, the drill bit's just going to follow the existing hole, and the existing hole is definitely off substantially. All right, so I'm thinking we're going to have to go cut ourselves a bit that is exactly that size, and go in there and cut the depth. We'll be back. All right, well, I got a lot of bits and I'm not seeing anything in here that's even close to what we need, and that's not a whole lot of fun because that means we're going to have to cut one. the whole distance. Maybe something here. No. It's closer. If we need to, we'll come back to this one. So we got one more drawer to look in. This is the smaller of the bits. And we'll dig around in here. There's something. But we'd have to cut the whole bottom of that off. Oh, what about this? Oh, now that's not too bad. I mean, we'd have to cut the bottom off, but it's already pretty thin. So that could work. Yeah, in fact, I think that will work. Let's take it over the grinder and cut away. All right, well, it's not a whole lot, so we're going to use the fine wheel to do the whole thing. We're going to take about a 1/4 inch off of this. Not too bad. We need the water. Now if I could just get my light to reach over to this, I'd be in better shape. Alright, we're going to go over and give that a little try. Alright, we're almost down to depth, and then we got to round the bottom. That's about as good as it's going to get. Alright, let's do a fast check on this and see how it's going to work. There's our angle, and we're just going to come in straight in the center and cut. How's that going to do? Looks pretty good. I'd say it's worth a try. Alright, so we've got our bit in. We got it reasonably lined up. I think we can just go in there and start cutting. Are we at our fastest speed? We are. It'd be nice if it was faster, but you know, it is an old South Bend. Yeah, it was out by a bit. Jeez, taking 15 thousandths off of that so far. And I still haven't cleaned up. All right, keep going. There it goes. I believe so. Nope, still haven't cleaned that hole up. We're probably at 18 thousandths now. Okay, we're going to take it back another few. Take it in. We're about 3/4 of the way around the circle. So another couple. And I'm not sure, we shouldn't just take it out to size with this bit rather than go in with a drill. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a tap that'll go in here, and then we'll take it to size and come up with the right tap. All right, so we're going to drill and tap this at a 1024 and then build ourselves a shoulder bolt at 1024. So we come in with another number 25 drill bit, and we've got this thing squared up enough, I think, that it's going to be a nice even hole. Let's see how it goes in. Yeah, look at that, nice and straight. There it bottomed out. We've got, oh, I don't know, 3/8. Maybe we want just a little bit more. All right, that's a good 3/8 half inch. And let's run a tap in there. And we got ourselves a nice, good, solid bottom tap here. Should give us what we want. And I'm not going to turn it around. What I'm going to do is just turn it by hand till it jams up. There it goes. It's starting to jam up. We'll back it up a little bit. That way we don't break the bit. See if we can get that a little tighter. All right. Back it out. Well, no, let's leave it in there. Now, take our whole carriage and everything back. Get a wrench. A T-handle. Uh-oh, too big. I acquired this nice little small T-handle here a month or so ago. Works great in this lathe. Little snug. We're gonna lock in our compound. We're getting an 1/8 of a turn out of each pull. That's not too bad. Okay, so what I want to do is come in and just cut this flat just to make sure we're good and square, because everything else, nothing else seems to be square. So let's go ahead and make sure that we're happy there. Alright, that looks good. Now, I want that because we're going to put a shoulder bolt down there. We're probably going to have to put a washer in here, because if you'll notice, these edges stand up. Either that or grind the edges down, but I think shoulder bolt would be easier. So, at this point, this is set up and ready to go. So we can take it out. See what things look like. Looks good. We'll be back in a few. Alright, well now we're going to go ahead and cut our shoulder bolt. we're just taking a regular Allen flathead bolt, taking it down. All right, well, we cut our shoulder bolt. Now we're going to come in and just cut a chamfer in that. Maybe make it just a little bit longer, just because we can. Something like that. Now we'll come in and we're just going to keep cutting until we can break it off. It's tight. There it goes though. All right, so we've got our shoulder. Put the bearing on. It'll go on there nice and snug. There's no room for the bearing to, the shoulder is below the bearing, so then now we take our little washers and put our washers in. Of course, they need to be drilled out a bit. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and thread that. And we'll be back. All right, so we've got our everything set up and ready to go. 1024. Start it from that side. Put it on the bolt and see if we can get it started straight. Well, the bolt wants to be off center. I think it's a good idea to get it squared up. You know, that looks too big. Oh, 193. And we are going for 1024, number 9, 196. So that's the right size for this. Why are we not fitting? It looks way too big. 1024. I don't know, I might not just might not be getting it on right or something like that. Let's see what we can do. Okay, maybe it's grabbing. Doesn't feel like it. All right, we're going to do another approach. We've got some 1024 bolts here, and we're going to take a measurement on those. And I don't know, 180, 179, it's like 10 thousandths. It'll be a bit tight, but can't be that far off. All right, we're going to put it in the other vise. I'm thinking we just toss this back in there, and how to grab it is the question. All right, we're going to play with this. Well, it turns out that our washers didn't quite have a big enough ID, so we're going to drill these out to a number 7 as soon as we get it rolling here, and it'll fit better. I gotta go in really soft because the washer's just barely sitting in those jaws. There we go. And we have 2 washers in this little grouping. So we'll come back in with a second one here in a sec, making sure that the first one works. Second one. And the way I can get it straight, in fact the only way I can get it in there, is with a tweezers. Right about like that. It's a little bouncy, but it'll be fine. No, it isn't fine. It just spit it. And who knows where it went. Got just a little bit too rambunctious on that one. Get our next one in. Tighten it up. Snug it down. And we're going to be a little more gentle. All right, I made it. Okay, we got our shoulder bolt. We've got 2 washers. That'll space that up a little bit, and I think we're ready to put this in. Let's give it a try. All right, here's our bit. Not too bad so far. I'd say it looks like we've got a bearing on the end of that thing. I'd like to give it a try now. Let's figure out a way to give it a try. First we got to find an extension cord. All tightened up. Yep. Oh, much better, much better. Look at that. We get a little bit of sanding, we got that. So, nice. That certainly was worth the time. And it's, you know, one of those small projects that actually did work out. Well, I'll be damned. Hey, this is Dick Collier. Stay tuned, we got more coming. And, you know, checking out.